Hello, Wonderhussy here in the beautiful Eastern Sierra, standing on the shores of gorgeous Lundy Lake. I mean, you can see this is one of those gorgeous, picturesque alpine lakes that the Sierra Nevada mountains are famous for. But I'm not here to hang out in the lake. I'm actually here to check out, well, I came here to check out a ghost town. Okay, at the far end of the lake, you might be able to see, I'll zoom in a little bit. There are some buildings, and it's actually the Lundy Lake Resort. Okay, I guess it was like a fishing resort, camping resort. I think it's, well, it was abandoned. Somebody emailed me about this and said I should go check it out. I'm not really sure what happened. The owners got divorced. The place fell into disrepair. It was sort of semi-abandoned. I guess they left food in the little camp store, and so bears busted in, and like there's holes in the roof. And anyway, somebody bought it. It's under escrow. I went over there, but there's people working on it. There's actually construction people on site. So unfortunately, I can't poke around the abandoned resort. Doubly unfortunately, the abandoned resort is right at the site of where this Lundy ghost town used to be. Okay, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a town called Lundy, right there where the resort is now, and it was a gold mining town. That's right, there was plenty of gold in them there hills, and this little town of Lundy, gosh, I think it was incorporated as a town or formed as a town in 1879. And it had saloons and stores, and it was a reasonably sized town because there was a reasonably sized gold mine right up the mountain there. And even though we can't go check out the site of the old ghost town, and even though we can't even go check out the abandoned resort, we can hike up and explore the old mine site. I guess there was a mill and a gold mine because, yeah, gold is really valuable, and that's what most people came to California for, to dig for gold and strike it rich. Well, guess what? Lumber mills, sawmills were also very important because, well, if you look around, there's plenty of trees, or I guess maybe there used to be even more trees. And so this lumber was cut down and milled and shipped, a little bit farther east to the ghost town of Bodie, okay? Bodie, it's a really famous, well-known ghost town. I actually made a video there once a long time ago, but it's a state park. There's always a bajillion people around there. You can't go in any of the buildings. It's still a cool place. Anyway, Bodie was built with lumber that was cut from these mountains and milled at this sawmill in Lundy. And that's why back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Lundy was a prosperous little settlement nestled in this bowl at the foot of these giant 13,000 foot mountains. And unfortunately, that's what led to the town's demise. There were several avalanches, but I think there was one in particular in March of 1911 that killed a bunch of people and wiped out a bunch of buildings. And as far as I can understand from my research, that was pretty much the end of Lundy. But lucky for us, we can still hike up to not only the site of the old gold mine, but I think the site of the old sawmill. There's an informational sign here that talks about the legacy of early mining. Hiking up this Lakes Canyon Trail will bring us past the remnants of the May Lundy mine. I guess the guy who formed the town of Lundy was this dude, William Lundy, and his daughter, or one of his relatives, was named May Lundy, and so they named this gold mine after her. And supposedly, you can still see a lot of wreckage. I mean, if this sign is to be believed, we should come upon an old narrow gauge rail, and who knows what all else. The only thing we don't want to do is, okay, I guess it says arsenic and lead are now present at high concentrations in the tailings and sediments of the lake. And since exposure to arsenic and lead has been determined to be hazardous to your health, well, they don't recommend hanging out very long, and they certainly don't recommend camping at the site of this old mill or this old gold mine. But I feel like we're probably okay just to hike up there and take a look around. According to my research online, I think it's about 3.5 miles up the side of this mountain to the old mine site, and there's an elevation gain of 1,700 feet. Well, that means we're hiking up to 9,500 feet. But I feel pretty good. I got a good night's sleep. I've been eating lots of red meat lately. I'm fit as a fiddle. I think we can do it. Oh gosh, I'm not even halfway up the trail yet, and I already need a break. But this is a good place to take a break because it gives us a great overlook of Lundy Lake. So I guess the whatever ruins there are still of Lundy town are over there somewhere mixed in with that resort. But the actual town site was underneath this lake. Okay, it was just a creek back in the day until, I think it's Southern California Edison built a dam back there. I guess they dammed, I want to say Lundy Creek, but I think it was actually called Mill Creek. Maybe it was Lundy Creek. Whatever the creek coming down that ravine was dammed to create Lundy Lake. And that buried pretty much all the ruins of the town. And actually, that reminds me of something else I read online, which I thought was kind of interesting. Apparently there's a turn as you're driving up the road here. You can see the road behind me. That's how you get up here from US 395. Well, as you're driving up, one of the turns is called, I think, Stagecoach Bend, because apparently a stagecoach took the turn too fast one day and flipped, rolled over, and I guess some scuba divers actually found the ruins of that stagecoach in this lake, and they were remarkably well preserved because the water's so cold and it's frozen half the year. Okay, break time's over. Back on the trail. Okay, I see a sign up ahead, and I just checked my altimeter, and we are at 9,500 feet, which means I've climbed 1,700 feet over about 3.2 miles, and I'm finally here at the May Lundy Mine and Mill. The May Lundy Mine was one of several gold mines comprising the Homer Mining District. The claims were established in 1879, and mining operations began in 1880. A stone foundation and remnants of tanks remain from the mill. Okay, so there should be decent ruins for us to poke through, but unfortunately it says high concentrations of arsenic and lead are commonly found throughout the tailings and pose a hazard to human health. Consequently, camping and picnicking on the tailings or wading and swimming in Crystal Lake should be avoided. Man, what a bummer. I am hot, and it sure would be nice to skinny dip in an alpine lake right about now. Dang miners! Ugh, that's okay. If nothing else, I can always take a quick dip in Lundy Lake when I get to the bottom, assuming that's not poison too. Anyway, let's keep our eye out for any mill or mining ruins. I don't see anything even resembling a tailings pile, or I don't know, I guess that could be a tailings pile? Huh. Oh, what a beautiful lake! But I can't go in. I'm no fool. I'm not trying to get poisoned by arsenic. But that's okay because look, there's all kinds of stuff left over here. Let's climb down into this probably unspeakably toxic mess. Oh, I feel like I really shouldn't loiter here too long. And I probably shouldn't be kicking up any dust or breathing in any dust either, but well, I'll be as fast as I can. What do you suppose this was? Or this? Or this? Wow, that would make a really cool little campfire ring, you know, for like a fire pit outdoors. I wonder if people used it for that purpose. I mean, it's sort of set up almost like a fire pit, but they tell you you're not supposed to camp here. And as cool as it would be to have a fire in that thing, I don't think I'd want to stay up here long enough to do so. Golly. Okay, here's these circular wooden, they're like holding tanks. They probably held unspeakable concentrations of arsenic or cyanide. and they dumped the ore into them to let them sort of leach out the gold. Isn't that how that worked? Or works? I don't know. For all I know, they still leach the gold out of ore using cyanide and arsenic. And I guess that's why you can't go in that beautiful shimmering lake just behind them. Wow, look at this. It's like some kind of old ore bin. Gosh, there's just wreckage strewn all through this area. What a shame. I mean, otherwise an absolutely gorgeous high alpine basin. Okay, there's the ruins of some old building, and there are multiple warning signs. Way up here, need I remind you, I'm at 9,500 feet. That was a tough hike. I don't know that many people could make it. Then again, these mine buffs won't stop at anything, so I guess these signs are for them. And speaking of these mine buffs, right next to this collapsed old ruin, there's another fire pit. So I'll bet you anything, there are some people who are just so crazy about mines that they would camp up here in this toxic hotspot. How about that? Comment below if you would camp up here. I mean, I suppose as long as you didn't drink the water, if you packed up all the water you needed, it might be okay. But I don't know. I feel like it's probably psychosomatic, but I'm already feeling kind of just from being up here breathing the air. Better check out these ruins quick. Oh my goodness. Wow, there's actually some pretty cool stuff in here. Okay, yeah, I know I'm not supposed to go behind this sign. I'll hold my breath. I feel like I have to do it for YouTube. So I'm not going to breathe, but look at that. What do you suppose that was? It has a hinged door, almost like it was some kind of furnace. A collapsed roof, some old rusty metal pipes. Hello! Not much in there. Oh, look, an old mattress spring. Yeah, I guess there was dudes living up here. Oh, look at all these cool old nails. If I was a less ethical explorer, I would take a nail for my collection. And actually, I don't know what ethics have to do with it. I mean, it's junk. It's... I'm just going to let go of my nose. It's just litter. I could probably take a nail, but do I really need an old arsenic-coated nail? From this mine site, which, you know, as gross as it is and as contaminated as it is, let's just stop for a minute and appreciate the beauty of where we are. Okay, this busted, rusted old mine camp, whatever you want to call it, in this gorgeous alpine valley with a once beautiful lake just hidden behind the bushes there at the foot of these towering, I guess, granite cliffs that are still dotted with patches of snow, even in the middle of September. I mean, just gorgeous views all the way around. And then this, evidence of man's folly. Actually, I was reading online that they were even going to build a town up here. Okay, I guess there was a town down on the edge of the lake, Lundy, but there was going to be a second town built up here just at the gold mine site because there were that many people coming up here. I don't remember why they didn't, but they even strung telephone poles up here. And this wasn't that long after the telephone was invented, so that's pretty exceptional. This must have been a pretty big gold deposit for them to go through all that trouble. Supposedly you can still see some of the telephone poles. And in fact, I think this might be one of them right here. Let's see if we can get closer. Everything's so overgrown up here, it's hard to find stuff. I mean, yeah, apologies, it's backlit, but I think that probably is a busted old telephone pole. How about that? Can you imagine living way up here at this remote mine camp, but you had phone service? So say you were a miner who was stuck way up here at the, what's it called, Lundy mine, but you were kind of sweet on a gal who worked down in Bodie at one of the brothels, and so every now and then you'd save up your money and give her a call. And say her name was Lulabelle. Hey Lulabelle, this is Cletus. I'm coming down on Friday, payday. Save a number on your dance card for me. And Lulabelle would go like, oh, Cletus, huh? Yes, of course I'll save a number on my dance card for you. Meanwhile, she had like 100 other guys on her dance card. But who can blame her? She was there to make money too. Anyway, I guess that's all there is to this mine. I mean, where's the mine at it? Supposedly that narrow gauge rail track too that we saw on the sign down at the bottom. I mean, as much as I kind of want to get out of here because I feel like it's toxic I am curious. So maybe I'll poke around just a little bit more. I mean, surely these signs weren't meant for me. Golly, look how many people come up here. There's all kinds of rubbish in here. Like, who's gonna come empty this trash can, you idiots? Meanwhile, speaking of idiots, here I go. I mean, I'm guessing if that's all tailings, the mine adit must be somewhere up on this face here. But I sure don't see anything. And even if I did, even I'm not stupid enough to go poking around in an abandoned gold mine with all these arsenic and lead warning signs. Ugh. I mean, even the snow is probably poison. Oh my goodness. Well, darn it. I really wanted to try to at least find that little narrow gauge rail track, but everything is so overgrown. And I guess, again, that's because of the exceptional snow melt this year. Maybe they're just buried. Oh, wait, up there on the hill. I don't know if you can see that, but way up there, it does look like there's still some rail left. So I'll bet you anything there's something interesting over there. Golly, it's stuff like this that makes you actually appreciate or an organization like the Sierra Club. You know, people are always complaining about California has too many regulations and these environmentalists. Well, if there wasn't regulations, who's to say that the entire state of California wouldn't look like this? You know, Lake Tahoe, all of Lake Tahoe might be polluted if it wasn't for the EPA. Oh my gosh! I made it! Oh my gosh. Wow! So just to put things in perspective, way down there is that busted ruin I was looking at. Well, I had to try to figure out how to bushwhack all the way up here, and there's all kinds of gnarly wreckage back here. How about that? Or that, or that. Or that. There's all kinds of crazy crap up here. Woo-wee! I don't have that much daylight left though. And remember, I still gotta hike all the way back down that canyon. And then back down the other canyon, past Lundy Lake to my car. And drive back to my campsite, where I should note, my campmates are making steak. We're gonna have steak and martinis for dinner tonight. So I don't want to spend all day here. As much as I love exploring an arsenic and lead polluted old mine site, I just might like steak and martinis a little bit more. But let's just see what we can while we're up here. Oh my God, this water is so clear and so beautiful. It's so tempting. And these rail tracks go all over the place here. So I'm guessing that goes to some kind of embankment where it probably dumped into the wagons that they carried it down the hill with. Back here, it must have come from the adit. So the mine adit, which I'm not going to go in, even if I find it, which I think I just did. Well, oh, I don't know. I thought it was back there, but well, maybe it's all filled in. Careful. Careful. Well, golly. It does look like these narrow gauge tracks did used to disappear back up into the... I'll bet you anything that's just rubble that either naturally collapsed or the government collapsed it on purpose to keep them nosy mine exploring folk out. Again, I'm not going to go in it. Just want to see if there's an opening. Oh hell, I guess I am one of those nosy mine exploring folk myself. Okay, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and guess this was the mine adit. You can sort of see timbers down in there. So this here is all just fill that the government or nature or something piled in over the opening where those rail tracks used to come in and out. But that's okay. Like I said, I didn't want to go in that adit. Anyways, I'd rather, if we can, get a closer look at that giant machinery down there. Okay, put yourself in the mindset of a dude back around 1910. You're pushing a cart down this track, or maybe you got a mule pulling it for you, and you're taking it all the way to the end of the line to dump it in a wagon so that it can be hauled down the hill. And I don't know what they used to do with gold back then. Pocket watches, snuff boxes, fancy train carriages for Leland Stanford. All this mess so that Leland Stanford could have a gilded coach. How about that? All right, I don't know if there's really a good way down this hill. Why do I feel compelled to be so thorough at these places? Because they're badass, that's why. Wow, look at the size of this gear. I mean, it seems to me pretty apparent that we're standing on the top level of what used to be a stamp mill. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out. This is the top level. And then you can see it's sort of terraced going down. And there's an ungodly amount of wreckage strewn about all over the place down below. And some of this stuff we already zoomed in on from above. And like I said, I don't have a ton of daylight left. And I want to make sure I get my steak and martini tonight. So rather than go look at every single last piece of stuff, I think we should just focus on that. Which is basically the big kahuna anyway. Wow, just look at this ginormous hunk of junk. Just sitting here, way up high in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I think we're even in the wilderness, the Hoover Wilderness. Just sitting up here, and it's been sitting up here for probably over 100 years. All of this. Look at the size of that friggin', is that a flywheel? I know I probably have a number of people yelling at their screens right now. You idiot, how many mines have you been to and you still don't know? I'm just a girl. Wow, this is wild. I gotta put myself into that wheel for perspective. Okay, watch this. Told you it was big. I mean, it looks to me like somebody cranked this thing, or there was probably a belt on it connected to another wheel, and there was some guy sitting back up here pulling levers all day. Wow, what a strange way to make a living. I mean, you must have gotten so dirty and so tired and so disheartened probably when you didn't actually find the gold, or the boss man took the lion's share of the profits. In fact, I'll bet you anything, Cletus probably got as tired and dirty and disheartened as his sweetheart Lulabelle did in her line of work. I guess my point is that no one really had an easy life back then. That is, except for Mr. Leland Stanford yucking it up in his gilded train car, eating steak and drinking martinis. Speaking of which, I think I've had enough of this dirty, toxic, yet amazingly beautiful mine camp. I'm gonna try to bushwhack back to the trail and hightail it, maybe to the nearest safe skinny dip, so I can hose off and get back to camp. But before I leave, here's one last look at this bizarre and kind of sad sight. Bizarre in that there's all this crazy machinery left over 100+ years later, and sad because it's so freaking toxic. Oh well, I guess that's the way of the world. Hope you enjoyed hiking to this weird place as much as I did. Now I'm going to get me some martinis.